Hello everyone, this is Abdus Shah from Spire Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Spire Podcast. In this podcast, we invite guests from different niches who are directly offering Amazon services or they are selling on Amazon or any other services related to e-commerce, but especially those service providers are those experts who are selling on Amazon and also selling off Amazon. So in today's episode, we have Meghla from India. She has a company of India Sourcing Network or India Sourcing Trip, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So I will not bore you too much. Let's go to the guest and please, Meghla, introduce yourself. And first of all, welcome to the podcast and thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Abdus, for having me on the podcast. So, really excited to be here. So, yeah, I'm the co-founder of India Sourcing Network and India Sourcing Trip, basically both.
Those are both.
Yes, so you were right. So, and we also do sourcing in Vietnam, and we also organize sourcing trips in Vietnam. So basically, we help global e-commerce sellers, Amazon sellers, and other types of buyers as well source products from different markets. And our focus is mostly on India, but then we also source in other markets like Vietnam. And recently, we've also started sourcing in Turkey. So essentially, we want to focus more on China alternatives. Like a lot of people, of course, source in China. That's the main, market for sourcing. However, given the entire, geopolitical situation between US and China and also rising production costs in China, a lot of people are looking for alternatives. So that's basically what our focus is, China alternatives.
Thank you so much, Meghla, for introducing yourself. First of all, can you please tell me the correct pronunciation of your name? Is it Meghla or Meghla?
Meghla.
Meghla, okay.
Yes.
So in Urdu, we pronounce it as Meghla.
Meghla, okay. Yeah.
So thank you so much for introducing and please, can you tell me more about the structure in which you are working? Like you mentioned that you're working and providing services with Indian manufacturers and sourcing from India, then Vietnam, and also in Turkey. So let's first start with India. How does it work? Do you have manufacturer network, or are you manufacturer by yourself and you are running all type of industries and factories in China? Sorry, the China is just on our mouth.
Yeah. Yes, so we are not a manufacturer ourselves, but we are a sourcing agency. So we can source any type of product that is manufactured in India. So the structure is basically, people come to us and they tell us that, okay, this is the product that I want to source. And these are the specifications, these are the quantities, these are the certifications that I require or the testing standards. And then we go out there and find suppliers for that product. And we basically manage the entire sourcing process, right from, finding a supplier to negotiating prices, doing sampling, prototyping, new product development, facilitating payments and placing orders. And then most importantly, quality control and inspections. So when you're sourcing via us, then it is our responsibility to make sure that the products meet your specifications. So you don't necessarily need to work with a third-party inspection agency to do quality control. So we manage that for you. And then we can also facilitate shipping. So it's like an end-to-end solution where we manage everything for you. And we become your eyes and ears in the factory and, in India. And we're sort of, we give you regular updates. We follow up on the supplier based on your requirements. And sometimes many buyers, they source products from different companies. And that becomes challenging for them because they have to, work with different companies. And then they have to consolidate the shipment maybe. So that is also a service that we offer. We can source products from different suppliers and then consolidate all of the orders into one shipment so that they, sort of go together. So we do the similar service in Vietnam as well, where we manage the entire sourcing process.
Oh, that's cool. And yeah, actually, my second question was, which you already answered, that how the
Yeah.
sample and inspection work. Like in China, we have like already established processes, and already there are companies, and Alibaba is working between. But in other countries, we don't have any such thing. So that's why also most of the sellers are hesitant to place order from any other country. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think you are solving this issue, and you know the pain point of all sellers.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're absolutely right, Abdus. I mean, it is very difficult to find suppliers in these different countries because China has Alibaba, and Alibaba has really made it very easy to find suppliers. And also, Alibaba offers trade assurance. So,
mhm,
to some extent, that provides some security to people who are sourcing in China. But there's no, there is Alibaba in Vietnam and India. And
mhm,
in fact, even in Turkey, there's Alibaba. So if you go to Alibaba and you search for products, you can use the country location filter to find suppliers in different countries outside of China. That's one
mhm,
thing. But of course, Alibaba is very China focused, so you'll find very few suppliers from other countries, but they're still there. You
mhm,
can also go to this website, Global Sources. In fact, I used to work for Global Sources previously. So
mhm.
they also have suppliers from India, Vietnam, and other countries on their website. Again, they are more China focused, but there are companies from other countries as well. And then I think one of the things that you've got to be careful, like when you're sourcing from these alternative markets, is you've got to vet the supplier very, very well. You got to make sure that they are a legitimate company, that they are a manufacturer, and that they are export focused. Those are the three things that you really need to make sure that you check.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you are totally right. We also made some effort, put some effort in sourcing from Pakistan and some other countries like Nepal, and we faced the same issue. Most of the manufacturers were not directly exporting. Like there are a lot of trading companies who like do the export stuff. So we face the challenge of getting international letters and for custom and other purposes. So we were facing a lot of issues. And yeah, you're right. There are manufacturers listed on Alibaba from other countries as well. Like I also found Pakistani manufacturers on Alibaba, but then there are also again some issues like Alibaba is not governing them the way they are doing it in China, and you don't have also trade assurance most of the time. So yeah, you're right. There are a lot of issues. So can you tell me how do you make sure that your clients get the right service, and like they don't get the delayed orders or the manufacturing process? So how do you make sure, and how do you ensure these processes?
Yeah. So we have in-house teams, and it is basically their job to, follow up with suppliers on a regular basis, to go to the factory, to visit the factory and to check products. And like when you're sourcing directly, even from China, a lot of people, what they do is that they just do one pre-shipment inspection, right? Before the order is shipped out of the factory, they'll just do one inspection via a third-party inspection company to
Yeah.
make sure that there are no serious issues in the product.
Mhm.
However, if you catch any issues in the product at that time, usually it is too late to fix anything, right?
Yeah.
Because the product is already made. And the
Yeah.
supplier will be very, very hesitant to make changes. I mean, unless the whole order has major issues and need to be scrapped, the supplier will always try to convince you to take the order because it is more work for them to, fix the issues. So, but the way that we work is that we always do, midline inspections, and we do pre-shipment inspections. Of course we do like final, but we always do midline inspections because that's the time to catch issues, right? In fact, when we have bigger orders and when there are a lot of raw materials that are coming from, outside from different suppliers, we also do a pre-production inspection. So we go to the factory as many times as needed to ensure that the product meets your specifications and that there are no issues in the product. So that's one of the things that we do, and being here, because we have teams and team members and partners in various production hubs wherever products are manufactured, it's easy for us to just go to the factory, multiple times. In fact, some of the clients, like I manage myself, some of our more important clients, so I travel to factories as well, and just to go and monitor stuff.
That's great. That's great. So I think it's great. Like obviously, there are a lot of countries in Asia who can produce products in much lower cost than even China. But the problem which most of the sellers are facing, as I mentioned, is that like there is no authentic processes. They can't go by theirself and look all around India or Pakistan and check or talk to the manufacturers. It's a lot of time, lot of time consuming work. So yeah, it's great. So can you tell me what type of products are, what are the categories in which you are normally working? India is like those products can be easily sourced from India.
So for Amazon e-commerce sellers, generally the categories that are very popular are home items, gift items, and fashion items. Those are the two or three main categories: home, gift, and fashion. India does manufacture other things like hardware and electronic components and some electronics as well. But generally, we don't do those items, and they're also industrial products. So we don't do those types of items. And for electronics, for example, it's only like very large companies that are currently doing the OEM production for big brands like Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi, etc. So our focus is more on home, gifts, and fashion. In terms of the specific categories, so for home decor, for example, there are a lot of products that are made out of natural materials such as metal, wood, ceramic, glass, etc. So these are all like kitchenware, tableware, home decor items. Then there's a lot of products that are made from, let's say leather. So leather bags, wallets, belts, fashion accessories, garments, shoes, those kinds of things. Even equestrian products, for like saddles, or pet products like leashes made out of leather. Then you've got a lot of apparel and textiles, specifically cotton textiles. So India is one of the largest producers of cotton in the world, and specifically organic cotton. So if you're sourcing anything cotton and organic cotton, India is a great option, and you can get even better prices, than China for some of the products. So textiles, apparel, home furnishings is another big category. So things like rugs, and cushion covers, table covers, curtains, bed sheets. A lot of cotton bed sheets are coming out of India as well. Then we've got things like eco-friendly items like jute or coir. Coir is basically the husk of coconut, and they use it to make different things like mats that are, like doormats, for example. Then there's also a lot of new innovative materials that Indian suppliers are experimenting with nowadays. For example, there is this material that is made from banana fibers or cactus or cork. So those are like new alternatives to PU leather, but of course they're more expensive right now because they're not mainstream, they're not mass market. Those are some of the types of products that we help Amazon e-commerce sellers source from India.
That's great. That's great. And yeah, such products like which are close to nature are they are somehow handmade, or like the original source is like near to nature. So those products can be easily sourced from India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan. if you have a well established network like sourcing from India network. So yeah, I think it's great. And one of my friend was telling, he was showing me his product, and he was making 56% gross profit on that product, and it was a unique product. So I asked him, like, where did you find this product? It was actually a bamboo product. Other sellers were selling in plastic, etc. So he said that I went to Nepal. Actually, I was on vacation, and on a roadside I saw that this product, and I got the idea, and I talked to the vendor, and he said that, oh, we are doing it in our village, and a lot of houses is doing this. So I got the idea, I did some research, and then I came back to Nepal, and then I initially placed order for 400 units, and it went like crazy. So, and then I like talk to them for big deal. So this is how like you can also find products in these countries. Come to vacation to India, Pakistan, Nepal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you will enjoy the weather, the diversity, and even product ideas.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's also one advantage of sourcing in these countries, that there are unique products that you will
Yep.
not find in China. I mean,
Hmm.
India, Pakistan, Vietnam, all of these countries have their own handicraft or their own skills. Like in India, for example, there are different production hubs that specialize in different product categories. So there is a production hub called Moradabad. This is a city where
Mhm.
they only make metal and wooden items, and it's mostly metal. It's actually known as the metal city. And
Hmm.
there are artisans that specialize in making metal products, and they have been producing these products for generations. Like their grandfathers and great grandfathers used to make these for the kings and queens of hundreds of years ago. And so that
Wow.
skill has been transferred from one generation to another. And now what's happened is that there are factories and like manufacturers who have set up facilities to make these products for Western markets. And so the designs and the colors and the structure is all suited to Western taste, but they are leveraging the skills of artisans in these different cities. So that's the
Hmm.
beauty of it. Like Turkey, I was in Turkey last week, and there are such beautiful products that are coming out of Turkey that I've never seen before. Like they
Hmm.
do Turkish towels, and of course the quality of Turkish cotton is just really really good. But I saw these beautiful towels that have nice embroidery and some beadwork and embellishments. Like I've never seen any of those types of towels anywhere else. So I think
Hmm.
you're right. Like, if you're adventurous enough, if you go to these different countries, explore what they have to offer, you might find like very unique products.
Exactly. Yeah. One tip for all the e-com plus travelers, like don't go to the cities. Obviously, go to the cities, but for product ideas, go to the villages and to the
Yeah,
remote areas. You will find a lot of good ideas there, especially the handmade and the giftable products.
yeah,
So,
absolutely right.
yeah. Can you tell me about the how do you manage to source from the Vietnam, and how do you manage your network in Turkey? Because I think do you have any team there on ground, or how does it work?
Yeah. So for India and Vietnam, we have our own teams. We have set up our own
Mhm.
teams. And then for Turkey, we have a partner that we are working with. So they have a good network, and then we are, leveraging their network and their connections. We don't have our own team, but it's sort of like an extension of India Sourcing Network and our services. And yeah, I mean, Vietnam, we have our own in-house team, and we are actively sourcing items for different types of buyers from there. And we are also organizing sourcing trips to India
Mhm.
and Vietnam. And I mean, if there's interest, we might even do a sourcing trip for Turkey. Let's see, how that
Yeah.
comes out. But I think, just going to a country to source products, seeing the processes, meeting the manufacturers, it just changes your sourcing game altogether. Like when you're meeting suppliers face to face, they will take you more seriously because they know that you have spent time and effort and money to travel all the way. So they know that you're a serious buyer. and they will take you more seriously. They will give you better prices. They will give you better terms, because ultimately, at the end of the day, all manufacturers want long-term business. And so if you are a serious buyer who's placing repeat orders, I mean, you are ideal for them. That's basically what they want. So they will definitely give you priority treatment versus somebody who's just, sending them an email or an RFQ from Alibaba.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it makes a lot of difference when you are connecting with someone physically. So yeah, um, can you tell me? Do you also manage the profitability part, or like if a client is sourcing a product, do they give you the quotation that okay, I'm looking for a product in this price range, or do you calculate it for them, or how does it work? Because some of the products maybe like there is a new seller and he don't have a lot of like a very technical idea of how it works, and like he choose a product and they may source it expensively. So how does it work?
Yeah. So generally, we expect the seller to do their own research, their own product research, and determine if the product is profitable or not, because they understand their markets, right? Where they are selling. I mean, we assume that they understand their markets, because if we start giving them guidance, then it will not be right, because we are not Amazon experts and we don't pretend to be Amazon experts. Of
Yeah.
course, if they tell us that this price is not working, if they, let's say they tell us, okay, source this product, we give them a price, and they say that, okay, this price is too high for me, or, it's not going to be profitable, then we go back and work with the manufacturer to see how we can cut the price. Maybe we can change the design or change the materials or do something different that will help reduce the price. So we can help them in terms of getting the right price so that the project is overall, profitable for them. But we don't get into the position where we either recommend products or we tell them not to do products. We generally don't do that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, it's responsibility of the seller himself as well. Like
Yeah.
the sourcing agent may don't know about the exact Amazon fees and other associated fees. So it's responsibility of the seller to do their own due diligence. So yeah, thank you so much
Yeah.
for explaining this. And do you source any other type of products related to nature? So, for example, from Pakistan, uh, you may see there are a lot of Shilajit focused products, like a lot of drinks or a lot of eatable stuff. So, do you have any such products related to nature?
Yeah, so actually, we have done a couple of orders of Shilajit from India recently. I know Pakistan is also a good source of Shilajit. And we're also doing a lot of organic, like cosmetic items or organic creams and perfumes, for example. In fact, Turkey also has a lot of manufacturers of these types of organic and vegan cosmetics and skincare items. Even things like toothpaste or perfume, you can find a wide variety of these items in Turkey. And a lot of these companies are selling under their own brand. So if you want, you can just represent a brand and you can just resell their items, or they're also open to private labeling. So you can, give them your own blend or your own cream or anything to make, or you can just private label their own, their own products. That's also an option. And what I found is that in Turkey, a lot of companies are open to, doing small orders, small MOQs. And so that is also a big advantage if you're an Amazon seller, if you're just starting out and maybe you want to just, see what's out there, or you want to test certain products. That can be, very advantageous as well. In fact, that's also an advantage in India. Like when you're sourcing these handcrafted products, the MOQs can be low, so it's easy to start with. Whereas in China, the MOQs can be in the tens of thousands, but in India, for some items, you can even source just a few hundred pieces. So, and in India, a lot of suppliers also have what is known as MOV, which is minimum order value. So they might say that, okay, you place an order of, let's say, $5,000, $8,000, and you can mix and match different SKUs. So maybe you can have, 200 pieces of this, 300 pieces of this. So that gives you a wide variety of products that you can launch at a time and test.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. And actually, you may don't have idea related to the recent product launch strategies. So actually, the recent product launch strategy is that, like, you don't have to launch one product with $50,000. What you can do, you can launch a portfolio of products, like 3 or 4 products or 5 products, with the same budget, and order their small quantities, and check whichever go really good, and then order further inventory. So I think the MOV stuff is good, and I personally like it.
Yeah, I think that will be very advantageous. It'll work really well for this kind of strategy where you're just testing different products.
Exactly. So do you also offer logistic services, or is it only sourcing services?
So generally, we don't offer logistic services ourselves, but we do have partners, and we can facilitate shipping. So we've got a few different partners for different regions, and we can advise on the mode of shipping as well. Like, you can, in some cases, you can just do air freight or sea freight, in most cases. And we can facilitate the whole process. So our partners are very, we worked with them for a long time. They are reliable. We know that they are providing, good rates. So we can facilitate that part as well.
That's great. That's great. One last question, and after that, if you have anything to share, then you can. So, do you face any challenge while dealing um, out of China sourcing work? So, for example, any type of problem like you faced in one project, like an issue with the manufacturer or something like that. Like, what can be the organic issues, if I say that way?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of different issues. So one issue is that whenever you go out of China, um, there are, like, in China, you can source anything and everything, right? Like any product can be sourced literally. But in other countries, there are limitations. So there are, each country specializes in certain categories. So for example, like if you're sourcing, let's say a plastic kind of product, maybe it's better to source that in China because they produce in high volumes and there are a lot of different manufacturers, so there is more competition and the prices will be lower. Or you can even source that in Vietnam, but the MOQs would be high. So it's really important to understand the strengths of each country and then go to that country for that specific product. To give you another example, wooden products. So India makes a lot of wooden home decor items in mango wood and acacia wood and some other types of wood as well. But India does not do bamboo wood. However, China does a lot of bamboo wood, like engineered bamboo wood. That's what their specialty is. But they don't generally do mango wood. They also do acacia as well. So those are some of the things that you need to be aware of. That you cannot source anything and everything in these different countries. They specialize in certain categories. Like Vietnam, for example, does a lot of footwear. They're amazing at footwear. They do a really good furniture. So in fact, Vietnam is one of the top furniture exporters in the world, close to China, like such a small country, and they are exporting almost the same amount of furniture as China does. So that is a huge, benefit in sourcing in Vietnam. Plus, they do things like backpacks, luggage. Those are the things that they do very well. Leather items as well. Also things like marble, and some stone items, glass items. Those things they do quite well. Some food items, apparel, textiles, sportswear. So you've got to understand each country's strengths and then go to that specific country for that product.
That's great. Yeah, and it's a very really good approach when going out of China. So you have to
Yeah.
compromise on some countries and you have to choose. Exactly. And yeah, that was also my overall idea of, like, if you are going out of China, then you have to be specialized with respect to each category. So yeah. In the last, can you please tell about how the sourcing trips work? And as a Pakistani, how can I come to India? Because the embassy will
Yeah,
not give me visa.
come to Vietnam then, or come to
Yeah,
Turkey.
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think Vietnam is a really good option to consider, for Amazon e-commerce sellers, because not a lot of sellers are currently sourcing in Vietnam. Again, I mean, all of these countries will give you advantages over other sellers who are not exploring these countries. So the sourcing trips are basically, 7 to 10 day trips that we have designed, and the idea of both the trips is basically to, first of all, help you understand how to source in these different markets. So we do a lot of informational sessions. We do a conference in India. We invite various sourcing and logistics and quality control experts from these countries to talk about best practices, pitfalls to avoid. We talk about things like cultural sensitivities, how to deal with suppliers, how is the culture different, how to manage logistics, quality control, payments, how to find and vet suppliers. So all of that information we're sort of giving you. It's almost like a crash course in sourcing from these different countries. Plus, secondly, we also help you source products. So in India, for example, we go to a trade show where there are almost 3,500 exhibitors of different types of products, home products, gifts, fashion, and you can meet with these suppliers. So we spend 3 days at the trade show. Plus, we also have our own sourcing experts who accompany you at the trade show. So if you have any questions, or if you want to negotiate with any of the exhibitors over there, our experts are available for you to do that. In Vietnam, for example, we also visit a lot of factories, because we also visit a trade show in Vietnam, but the trade show is pretty small. So we only spend 1 day at the trade show, but we visit different factories in different cities. So that's the second aspect, which is sourcing. And then the third aspect is cultural experiences. So each country, and especially in Asia, a lot of these countries have their own culture, traditions. So we want to give people a taste of their culture and tradition as well. So in India, for example, we go to Taj Mahal, which is one of the seven wonders of the world. And we also do a Bollywood night where we invite a dance troupe to do some Bollywood dancing, and people can
Ah,
dress in saris and kurtas, and also put some mehndi henna on their hands. So just an experience of Indian culture. In Vietnam, similarly, we spend one night on a boat in Halong Bay, which is a very beautiful and picturesque kind of lake over there. And then I think food is also a very important part of this trip, because we're spending so much time together. So we make sure that we select good restaurants and people can experience and taste the different types of flavors in each of these countries. Plus the networking. I think the networking is one of the most important parts of any of these trips, because when you are in a relaxed environment with different people who are in the same boat as you, or they are like-minded sellers, there's so much information that you can share and learn from each other. I think in a lot of cases, when you go to a conference, for example, or you just learning online, you can't really get that kind of insider information that people share from their own experience. So the networking at these events is also amazing, and you build so much connection, right, with these people, because you're spending like 7 days, day and night, with these people. So I mean, you just make lifelong friends. That's what I feel too. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's amazing. And for a few seconds and even for a few minutes, I forgot that I'm a host. So yeah, I was thinking how to join.
How to join the trip? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, most welcome.
Thank you so much, Meghla, for sharing these insights about sourcing and logistics and the trips. And yeah, after this call, I'm sure gonna talk to you about the next trip you are
Yes.
arranging. Yeah, so I see my schedule whether I will be able to attend. And yeah, for you guys, I will also share Meghla LinkedIn link So you guys can also watch and check Meghla profile. I will give link to her profile, a LinkedIn profile in this video description. You can check the next sourcing trip, and even if you are considering any product which are made in India, Vietnam, and Turkey, then you can sure contact to Mela. And with reference to this podcast, hopefully she will also give you discount on her services.
Absolutely, yes. just
Thank you
just
so
let
much.
me know that you're from Abdus's podcast, and yes, there will be a discount available for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mela, for showing up on this podcast. Hopefully, people learn something from this. Actually, I learned a lot from this, and yeah, you also got a client.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you so much for having me, Abdus.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice night
Thank you.
ahead. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.